Now, we're talking about this in the framework of career. These expressions could be stratified. Like at home, you might be a little bit of a different expressed subtype than you are at the office or at work. So we're talking about this through the lens of career. And remember, these aren't rigid subtypes. This isn't who you are. If your cognition is ISTJ, these are ways you can express. And if you have a tendency to be, lean more toward one of these subtype expressions, you can grow and stretch and lean into some of the others. So maybe it's on a maturity line through your life. Like early on in your life, maybe you started off with more of a normalizing ISTJ framework. You got a job, let's just say as an accountant, and you worked at that for a couple decades. And then all of a sudden you felt a calling to sort of lean more into your creative side. Maybe there's a career change where you became more creative later in life after you did more of the managerial stuff. You ended up opening up different energies. So these are available to us, all of us. Doesn't matter your personality type. These flavors are available to us to lean into and explore more of who we are and what we want to do in life through our career.
To piggyback on what you're saying, I think there's really two major ahas or insights that can be had from engaging with these subtypes and understanding careers through them. The first is, what kind of person do I want to be? Like you said, let's say that I identify as a normalizing ISTJ, but there's an opportunity for management and really stepping into my ability to lead other people. Well, then I might need to move into a more, dominant directorial position as an ISTJ. And then I might want to seek a job or go out for something that will force me to flex those muscles because I have it inside of me. I just haven't really been using it.
Yeah.
Or I might have discovered something more of a sort of a spiritual tone, and I really enjoyed mentoring younger people in my career path. And so now I'm moving towards more of a harmonizing ISTJ style. Or like you said, maybe I just kind of feel like I need a more creative space. And so going out for something in a creative field might open that up for me. So what's nice about this is it's not just what do you want to do, it's kind of who do you want to be, right? And what qualities and characteristics do you want to emerge? Because the second big aha is the career itself will help mold you. And so what we choose as our career path is going to alter and change the kind of person we are in response to the thing that we have to do for 40 plus hours. So I think it's really an interesting relationship that we build with our careers to understand that it's not just matching something, it's also understanding that we're like growing with it. And what we choose, we're going to grow into oftentimes. Yeah. And if we can't, maybe it's time to flex a different aspect of our personality type.
You want to talk about countering stereotypes. I mean, again, if you're listening to this as an ISTJ, you've probably read something about your personality type online. There's some jokes going around of how rigid and unbending you are as an ISTJ. But the brain scans from Dr. Nardi would argue very differently. Your dominant or driver cognitive function of introverted sensing or memory is the most adaptable cognitive function over time, meaning you are the most flexible on a long enough timeline of all of the personality types. I mean, ISFJs are probably the other one. So don't discount the fact of putting yourself in certain conditions into a certain career role can really shape you and can really make you go down a road and help wire you and bring out all of these elements of you. So choosing what career you enter over time will shape who you are as a person. So be mindful of that too, because the choices you make will start to shape how you are.
Yeah. Sorry, my introverted thinking has to do one tiny
Please
little
do.
quibble. It's you are accurate. I would just make it a little bit more specific that the function itself of introverted sensing or memory. If you're new to type, by the way, this is the mental process that is favored by SJs in the Myers-Briggs system, that the function itself is the most flexible over time, over a long enough timeline.
Yeah. I didn't say that. What
well,
did I say?
You said the ISTJs are the most flexible over time, and the reason why I want to make this little,
Yes.
I want to be
for that.
specific about this is the way to make yourself the most flexible over time is to put yourself in different environmental,
That's right.
in different situations. If you allow yourself to be in multiple different environments, you will be able to adapt to them. If you find yourself in the same environment
Yes.
throughout your whole life, you're not going to be, you're not going to flex to be flexible because you're not flexing to anything, right? Well, there's no adaptation happening. And so the function itself requires a variance of environments to really do what it does well.
Well, if it doesn't have that variance of environments, it will be very unique in how it's wired. In other words, the same thing that we say creates the rut or the structural, the unflexibleness. The reason why it's unflexible is because of the adaptation,
right.
Meaning the trail that introverted sensing gets on starts to groove in a very particular way. In other words,
right.
on the brain scans, my personality type, ENFP, you would think would show up in tons of variants. But we actually, on brain scans, our dominant cognitive function shows up with a lot of homogenization.
Mm-hmm.
But introverted sensing users show up so unique because they get on these unique paths, and that keeps shaping them more and more distinction, more and more uniqueness. So thank you for clarifying that, because that's what I was intending to communicate. I appreciate your TI, though, to help land that plane.
Yeah, no, I just, I think that it's actually a really important message for people who use this function.
Yeah.
To know that new situations almost always feel really scary. And if an ISTJ is listening to this podcast specifically because they're in a time period of transition, I mean, the idea of, sort of financial insecurity, that idea of having to change jobs and having to learn something all over again, and especially if it's in a totally different field, or if you're feeling called and pulled towards something that is outside of your current experience, I can only imagine the challenge with giving yourself permission to have that desire or want, and balancing that with the practicality and the need to make sure that you're safe and secure. And if you have dependents and a family relying on you, there can be a lot of challenge in that situation. And I think it was really important for you to mention, no, you have it inside you. You are pre-wired to be able to learn new things and be highly flexible and adaptable over time. So the choices that you make, you can give yourself permission to want something that's out of your current wheelhouse. You can give yourself permission to go towards something that will help you grow into another version of yourself, or maybe even a better version of yourself with more, with more tools at your disposal, knowing that maybe another job, maybe another career is the thing you want to be moving into in order to gain some of those tools, some of those characteristics.
Yeah.
Like, take, for example, I want to be more of a leader, so I'm going to move into a more dominant ISTJ style role, or I want to have more compassion and work with people one-to-one, so I'm going to move into a more harmonizing ISTJ role. I think it's important to give that little extra, encouragement that not only is it okay, but it might be exactly what you need to be doing.